I was gonna say I see the little live popped up.
Hello, welcome to Studio C70. My name is Justin Villery with the Committee of 70. We are very excited to have our final interview of the election cycle today. Jennifer Santiago, who is one of the Democratic candidates for Philadelphia Court of Common Pleas, running for election tomorrow. And she's going to be interviewed today by students from Ms. Stefanovich's class. These are all seniors, I believe, at Lankenau High School in Philly. So, Ms. Stefanovich, I'll turn it over to you. Ms. Santiago, thank you very much for being here. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
You're turning over to me. So these are actually students from my class and also Mrs. Flores Rivera's class. So half the students are social studies students and half of them are AP government students. And we are so grateful to have Jennifer Santiago with us here today through Zoom. So thank you so much. And I'm turning it over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Ms. Stefanovich, for being here. Thank you to the Committee of 70 for doing this. Thank you for your flexibility. As a hometown girl, as a Philadelphian, graduated from Central High School. I also took AP Government when I was a senior. This was really important for me to do. So I thank you for allowing me to reschedule and still be here with the high schoolers. As I indicated, I'm a Philly girl. Born and raised here, Central High School, class of 259, UPenn undergrad, Temple Law, and St. Joe's for my master's. Philly is my home. And for the last 15 years, I've been a trial attorney here. And I've done everything that you can think of. I actually started my career in the Bronx because in 2009, when I graduated law school, we had a recession going on. Philly wasn't hiring. So I had to go to New York. Since then, I have come home, obviously, and I have been a criminal defense attorney. I have done family court in all areas: dependency, delinquency, child support, child custody, divorces, protection from abuse. And I've also done civil. So those slip and falls, those commercials where you hear people say, you don't get paid, I don't get paid unless you get paid. I've done that side and I've done it on the defense side as well. And I currently serve as corporate counsel for a Fortune 100 company. So I have done the whole gamut. Um, Philadelphia being my home, I do serve in Philadelphia in various capacities. So I actually still work with the high school mock trial competition. I have served as a judge, as a coach, as a mentor through the program for the last 20 years. All of y'all I know are younger than that. Do not have to remind me that I'm that much older than you. I've also helped to help new attorneys. I've taught trial advocacy courses for them, and I've also taught continuing legal education courses. Because for those of you who are looking to come into the law, just so that you know, every year you are required to get 12 credit hours in order to keep your license up to date. So school never ends for us, just so that you know. And then lastly, I do serve as a deaconess at my church. I am proud to be a member of Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church. And so I continue to serve the community in that way. So I'm a Philly girl. Now, it's my understanding that these students have questions. And so I'm going to do my best to answer them. So let's see what y'all got for me.
Yeah. Come on up, man.
Hi, I'm not even.
Hello.
Okay. Hold on one second. All right. My first question is, why did you become a judge?
Well, I'm not there yet, but thank you for speaking it into existence. The election is tomorrow. So, becoming a judge was always on my trajectory. It was always the next step after I became an attorney, but I wanted to make sure that I had handled all the different areas because I am running for Court of Common Pleas. And in Court of Common Pleas, they can place you anywhere. They can put you in criminal, civil, family. You could handle anything. And so that's why my background is in all the different things. But I've always wanted to be able to serve my community in that way. I think it's important that we have judges that reflect our community.
Right.
So, being a Latina, I wanted to make sure there were still some Latina voices on the bench.
All right. Second question is, what qualities do you value the most, like with the peers you work with every day?
Being able to be fair, being able to listen to everyone, regardless of where they come from, what they look like, who they have standing next to them. You have to be able to meet people where they are. One of the things that I do take great pride in, and my whole entire campaign has been built around being from Philly. In Philly, we see everybody from the most wealthy to the least financially stable. to the housed, to the unhoused. There's a myriad of things. And so the quality that I think is most important is to be able to listen to everyone, see everyone, and not judge them, because none of us are the sum of our worst days. Everyone has an opportunity. So I think being fair is the quality that I think is the most important. Being fair, being honest, and not, even though being a judge, you have to judge, you don't want to be judgmental, if that makes sense to y'all.
Not that personal. All right, okay. Well, all right, what do you do in your free time?
I am a proud member of a Divine Nine organization. I am a finer woman of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. So I spend a lot of times with my sorors. I actually just came back from an Atlantic Region conference up in Providence, where we did community service for the area, as well as handled the business. So I spent a lot of time doing community service with my sorors. We hang out. Yes, we do have fun and we do party. So I do a lot of community service, no matter it's with my sorority, independently, and the like. Because again, when you from Philly, you recognize there's a lot of work out there and a lot of help to be needs to be done. So that's important to me. And then yes, I like to kick it. I like to have fun. I like to listen to music. I like to read. These are really my books. These are not. It is not a virtual background. I just have it blurred because some of the titles may not have been appropriate. I'm a regular Philly girl.
Okay. That's not it already.
I have questions.
Thank you. I just need y'all to know that I graduated high school sometime before y'all. Seeing y'all all pop up with laptops is blowing my mind. We had our notebooks, the spiral spiral copy books. Y'all coming up with your whole laptops. Lord of mercy. Go ahead, baby.
What common misconceptions the public has about the position you're gunning for?
I think that they think that judges are infallible. I think that a lot of people believe that judges have to be perfect. None of us are. And so I think it's important that all of us remember that we work in a team. Judges have a staff, particularly Court of Common Pleas. We have a staff. We also have a law clerk within that staff that helps us to make sure that we're on the money. The law changes regularly. And so even though, like I said, we have credit hours that everybody has to attain, you always need somebody to help you. And so I want people to understand that judges work in a team, but then because judges are not infallible, you need to remember that that's why we have the appellate courts. And I know all of you have been hearing, because all of you are of a certain generation that is very big on social media. So y'all are hearing about the Supreme Court and that, we're looking for retention. That's why we have the Supreme Court. That's why we have Superior Court, because mistakes can happen. The goal is that mistakes don't happen, but people need to understand that judges are human too. They have to deal with the same bias and, overcoming bias and everything else the same way everybody else does. The issue is that as a judge, we and I, again, I'm going to speak it into existence because it's tomorrow. We have to make sure we work harder because people's lives are at stake. But I think that's the biggest thing, is that people think judges are going to always be perfect and always get it right. Flip, just so that the other thing is, a lot of people, because this is still Philly, people think that all judges are corrupt. Most of the judges that I know, I can't say all of them because I don't know all of them, but the judges that I know do work hard every day to be able to do the best by the city. And so it's one of those things, the same way we all say, not all teenagers are the same, not all judges are the same. And so not all judges are going to be corrupt, but not all judges are going to be perfect. We're all still human at the end of the day.
Thanks for clearing that misconception up. How important is the holding an oath within a courtroom setting?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
How important is withholding an oath within a courtroom setting?
Well, there's nothing more important than upholding your oath. So as a judge, you are required, and understand, judges are the ones who administer the oath. So there's always levels to this. And so if you can't be fair, if you can't be impartial, if you can't be objective, if you can't uphold the standards of the law, recognizing that the facts that are given to you through the parties have to be applied to the law for you to make your decision, you shouldn't take this job. Because that's it. That is the requirement. You are here to serve the community. You are here to serve the people. And if you can't do that, you need to be out of a job. Point blank, period.
What does your, okay, how do you make impactful decisions under pressure?
You have to be able to learn how to say, give me a moment. Because the reality is, some of these courtrooms are very emotionally charged. Some of the facts you're going to get are very, very sad, very harsh. And you have to apply those to the law. And there's going to be some times when you look at a person and you're going to have sympathy for that person, but you still have to uphold the law. Because again, like we just talked about, is that oath. You need to apply it as it is written. Now, how you do the outcome is something different. So how you sentence someone can be different and all of that. The resources you give to the person after the fact. But at the end of the day, you need to be able to go ahead and do what has to be done. And so I think that we really need to just remember that. You know, there's a job to be done. You want to do it right, you want to do it fairly, but you have to do the job.
Noted, noted. How are judges picked for different divisions?
That is done by just like at any job, there is a management structure. We have a president judge, you have a supervising judge, there's administrative judges, and they determine the needs of the court. And so, like I said earlier, you can get placed in family court, you can get placed in civil court, you can get placed in criminal court when you run for court of common pleas. Every time new judges come in, there is a shift and they move judges around that are already on the bench. And for those who come in new, um, then they'll place us whatever there's a need. So it is set up through the hierarchy. I would love to tell you that we all get what we want to go to, but the reality is, if right now I believe there's only going to be a few spots in family and the rest will go to criminal and civil. So if you really want to go to family, you're going to have to really hope that you're one of those one or two, and then you get placed in civil or criminal. And so that's also why background is important when you're talking about who you're going to elect.
Got it, got it. What resources are given to individuals to defend themselves in court?
Well, we all have heard the Miranda warnings. We've watched Law and Order. We've watched Chicago PD and everything else. So everybody knows that whole, if you can't afford one, one will be appointed to you, right? That's
Yeah.
real. The Public Defender's Office, the Defender Association of Philadelphia in particular, is staffed with tremendous attorneys. And as somebody who did criminal defense work, I can tell you right now, the number of people who disrespect the Defenders Association because they're a free lawyer it's crazy, because those lawyers went to the same school as the rest of us. They go through the same credit hours as the rest of us. They work hard for their clients. But if there is a conflict, so let's say the particular defendant cannot afford an attorney and they would ordinarily qualify for the Defender Association, but the defenders can't represent them because maybe they have the co-defendant or something like that, then they can get a court-appointed attorney. Again, court-appointed attorneys are free to the person, but that court-appointed attorney is still getting paid. They're just getting paid through the courts. Again, those are still legit attorneys. Those are still people who have Esquire behind the name. They went to school, they passed the bar, all of that. So all of these are real lawyers. And I really need to hammer home, because I would get people asking, are you a real lawyer or are you a paid lawyer? They're both still lawyers, y'all. They're both still lawyers. So those are actually afforded to those who cannot afford an attorney. There are also still programs out there. So let's say, people are getting involved in some things they probably shouldn't, but they have not yet been arrested. And it's just because they needed some resources. People are losing their jobs. We all got to be real about what's happening. In this criminal courthouse, the Justice Juanita Kidd Stout Center for Criminal Justice. I grew up calling it the Criminal Justice Center. The name has changed, so y'all gonna have to forgive me. But at 13th and Filbert, on the first floor in room 104, there's what we call the Resource Center. So if people need help trying to find a job, if they need help getting enrolled into GED or anything like that, they can go there in advance so that they don't ever have to become a defendant. They don't have to have a PP number on State Road. But should that happen, there are also still programs out there to help defendants so that they don't have to reoffend. And so Judge Stephanie Sawyer has actually created a program specific to, now, unfortunately, you didn't take advantage of the Resource Center. You now have a PP number, all of that, but we still don't want to see you get lost in the system. You now have a case, you now are being sentenced. There are resources that can be allocated and help you to go ahead and, like I said, get that GED, get a job, put you back on the right track. So there are various safeguards in place to help you before, or unfortunately to help you after, so that you don't come back and you're not a 2-time, 3-time, 4-time felon.
Noted, guys. My last and final,
That one more is back.
yeah, my last and final question is. What does your court specifically do to protect the individual rights of people?
So I'm not yet in the court yet. But what I can tell you what my court will do is, again, if this is a situation where you have a right to counsel, so in criminal court, you have right to counsel. In dependency court, you have right to counsel. Okay. And dependency is unfortunately when DHS or CUA get involved with the family. Making sure that counsel is there, that counsel is prepared and knows you, because that's a big issue where you get a counsel appointed to you at the bar of the court. Well, if y'all just met, I'm not expecting you to trust this person just yet, and I'm not expecting this person to know you. And so again, that fairness aspect, that recognizing and being real with what's happening, I can't expect an attorney who just met you to be able to defend you if this person doesn't even know what really happened. And so it's recognizing that if you appoint somebody at the bar of the court, you're going to need to go ahead and give a continuance. And that's just putting the case off to another day, because again, you have a right to sit there and meet with your attorney, and you have a right to meet with your attorney in their office and not just chilling in the hallway of the courthouse and doing it quickly. So it's just implementing certain procedural safeguards to make sure that you do have a full and fair day at court, because nobody should feel rushed. This is your day, and your livelihood, your children, your freedom, all of that could be at stake, and we don't want to make rash decisions that impact those if you haven't actually had a chance to actually speak to somebody.
Thank you, I've learned a lot. Thanks for your time.
No problem.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How you doing? My name is Sasha. How you doing? My name is Sasha.
Hi, Tasha. How are you?
Sasha.
Asha. I'm sorry, Asha. How are you?
I got like 5 questions for you.
Okay.
How did you know this like the field of study that you wanted to do? Like, how did you know that this is what you wanted to do?
So I am that person that they probably tell you don't be like. I was 12 years old when I first stepped into a courtroom, and I was watching. I fell in love with what I watched. It was a homicide trial, and it was fascinating to me because the person who was killed was actually a drug dealer in the city, and the prosecutor still fought hard to get the person who killed him to be convicted. And it was fascinating because you don't normally hear about that. You don't normally hear about them trying to make sure that every life mattered. And that's what that prosecutor taught me, was that it didn't matter. Nobody has a right to take somebody else's life. And at 12 years old, I'm watching the case and I'm watching the attorneys go back and forth. And it was fascinating. I'm like, yo, they getting paid. For those of us who have siblings, we all argue and fight with our siblings, and our parents are usually the juries figuring out who did it right. That's pretty much what I saw in court. And I have an older brother and a younger sister. So I'm like, yo, these people are getting paid to argue. The jury is making the decision. I fell in love, and so I stayed with it. And then the more I learned about the law, I recognized how important to have fair judges, and judges, like I said, that are representative of the city, because we don't always want to feel judged by folks that don't look like us, that don't come from the same background as us, that have never walked in the same streets as us. And so that's when I started to really go, okay, being an attorney is one step, being a judge is another.
Okay. Thank you. And you said you Central.
Yes.
So going to Central, how did that also like shape your decision? How did that further like push you into that position?
So being at Central, we all know Central's a different kind of high school, and it was much more so back then. Central was extremely, extremely diverse. So that was the first time that I got a chance to really interact with folks from all types of backgrounds. And so that helped me with my understanding and my interaction, because again, we don't all, have the same belief system. We don't all have the same religious system. We don't all, come from the same family structure. And so that was a blessing. But the other blessing was that I got a chance to take advantage of various programs. So the reason I'm so involved with High School Montreal now is because I did it in high school. And I met a lot of my mentors back in high school when they gave me the fake case to put up. So it was definitely about the different resources that Central gave me. So
Okay.
here we are.
A little bit about your cases.
Has there ever been a case that you like kind of took personal?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I tell everybody, and actually I just did a live a couple weeks ago, and I told everybody about the same case. The one case that brought me to tears is a case that I handled in dependency court. And this is why when people get attorneys, you have to really check their background and when the kind of cases that they really have. This case was in dependency. Like I said, dependency is when DHS or CUA get involved. CUA is our community umbrella agencies that also help DHS with these cases. The family, unfortunately, the 3 children in this family were removed back in December. This family hired a family lawyer. Dependency court is in family court, but it is not family court in the way we think about it. It's not divorce custody support. This lawyer didn't tell the family honestly that she did not handle dependency. This family did not see their children for 6 months until the case continued to roll. They came to me and I explained to them what the process was. We got them their visitation. Unfortunately, the baby was had some medical issues and ultimately died before I could get the children reunified to their parents. It is a case that I fought hard. I actually got banned from emailing DHS, got banned from emailing CUA because I needed answers and people weren't giving me answers and I needed answers from my client. So that case, like I said, when I say brought me to my knees and it made me cry because we got the family reunified, but not before the youngest baby died.
Right. Now, just another one. Has a case ever, like, besides this one that you just told me about, has a case ever, like, stood out to you the most?
So I am fortunate. I have been able to overturn a conviction. In Pennsylvania, we have the Post-Conviction Relief Act. And so I did file a case under that same act. And essentially what I was arguing, many people have already heard the ineffective assistance of counsel phrase. I was able to argue that trial counsel was ineffective. This case took us 3 different days. I got cussed out by the trial attorney. I had to go to his boss to even get him to come testify. It was a thing, but my client, unfortunately, was 30 years old when he was sentenced. The judge was not trying to hear a single thing. The judge, even before the jury trial, told him, I don't know if you'll be 85 or 95 when you get out, but if you are found guilty by this jury, that's what you can look forward to, because this judge did not want him to go to a jury. And so when he was found guilty, the judge launched him. He was sentenced to 37 and a half to 75 years. And so worked hard. He is now walking the streets.
Okay. Now, my last question. What is like the main thing that you look at when you like reading a case or you're going through a case? What's the first thing like you see like for you searching for you going over a case?
So I take a case and I look at it like a textbook. I literally read it from beginning to end. I take notes. I create a timeline. So if it's criminal, that timeline's important because you have to figure out when, when the alleged incident happened. When did the allegation come out? How long did the police take to actually work on it? So I have a case that a man was accused of rape. The woman went to the police essentially a day or two after. The police did not arrest my client for a year and a half. The cops knew where he lived, where he worked, had his telephone number, the whole nine. When I was going through it and I was combing through the evidence, I found the piece of paper where the police outright said, do not prosecute. That's why it took them so long, because they didn't believe her. And so when you look at a case, you got to look at it with fresh eyes. Even if another attorney had it, you got to go through each piece of paper. You need to write out your notes. You need to create your timeline because there are legal safeguards in place. Because on this one, I got a chance to do what we call a Ross motion. And that's essentially, you're asking the police, what took you so long? If you had all the information of who did it, where they live, where they work, you got their telephone number, you got all of it, why don't you arrest them? Explain to the court what it really was. But you only do that if you're able to go through everything. So I tell everybody, law is reading. It's a lot of reading, and it's a lot of patience. And so you just got to get it done. In order for your client to have an attorney who's about that life, who's about that business, you got to do all the reading.
All right. Thank you.
No problem. Yo, y'all laptops really are. Each and every one of y'all got one too. That's tripping me out.
Well, my name is Virgil, and I have two main questions.
Okay.
My first question is, what distinguishes you from any of the other judges that you're running against?
Um, the easiest answer to that is I'm actually the only one of the 11 who has practiced in each and every single courthouse on each side. Like I said, I did not want to run for judge unless I had the experience. So one of the things you do need to know when you're running for judge is not only can they place you in any of the courthouses, it doesn't always matter if you have that experience. So I have been before courts and been before judges where the judge will tell people honestly, I've never practiced in this area. This is the third jury trial I'm hearing though. I didn't want to be that person. You do get training after you become a judge, but we all know there's a lot of things that a textbook can't teach you, right? And as you get older, you're going to notice that even more. And so I wanted to make sure I had the hands-on experience. So in terms of what distinguishes me from the other, out of the 11, I'm the only one who's practiced on criminal on both sides, civil on both sides, and family on all sides.
All right, well, here's my second question. According to the research I did, you took you did sociology, right?
Yep.
Okay, so how does that motivate you to get done? Does that have any impact?
So what I tell people is sociology is just the study of people, how people interact, how people react in certain circumstances, in certain environments. My senior project actually, just so that you know, was I went back to Central and I sat in a classroom and saw how they interacted with the material because that was a multicultural literature class. And so being able to quote unquote people watch and observe, you know, a lot of times how persons' behaviors, their mannerisms, how they look at you will tell you more than their words. And so all of that helps because one of the factors when you are passing judgment on a case will be their affect, will be how they presented. And so I got a 4-year degree on just studying people.
Thanks. Well, that's it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I think we have time for one more question.
Okay. I am here.
I just have one question.
Sure.
With recent technology, as you say, everyone has their computers, stuff like that. Has technology affected any cases you've taken or anything new recent to you at all?
So I have not had it impact any of my cases personally, but what I can tell you is that there are a lot of continuing legal education courses right now going on, particularly in the AI space, because as we know, you can make a video to say anything, look like anything. We've had cases turn on social media posts. We've had people, of course, you know, with the car accident cases that'll tell you, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. Meanwhile, they're doing the newest TikTok trend. Baby, if you can dance like that, your back doesn't hurt as much as you're trying to tell us, right? But the problem is now with AI and us now knowing that that video could possibly be fake, that's where a lot of the focus is trying to identify the real from the fake. So while I've used the technology to prove certain things or disprove certain things, now we're having to be more careful because, you know, so many people can say that wasn't really me. And so trying to figure out that there is the computer science and computer forensics field is booming right now because they're the ones looking into it and they're the ones looking at the coding and all of that. So I haven't had it negatively impact me. I have had it help me. And even when I present to juries, I put everything on the screen. I have, you know, what we call trial director, which I like to tell people is PowerPoint on steroids because you can put up a slide, enhance just a certain part and bring that to the forefront for a jury. Because long gone are the days where we just put up the giant poster board for people because people don't want to see that. They want to see the bells and whistles. They want to have the CSI effect and see all the things. So it's been helpful, but AI is now going to be that impediment in trying to work around that.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
We have one more question, sorry.
No, it's fine.
Thought came up while we were, yeah.
Oh, he back.
Oh, all right, so do you think the AI could possibly get somebody in a case or out of one?
Yes. And that's why I say computer forensics is what's booming right now. Because again, that AI, we know that AI can be used to make the images, the videos. You know, yes, I am on TikTok. So yes, I do know about Zaina Monet, who is like the AI artist. So we know that. But AI can also be used to curate information. And so you can ask ChatGPT, hey, I'm going to Aruba next month, create me an itinerary. So there's positives and negatives with it. So I do think that as we learn more about it, it can get somebody in trouble and get somebody out as long as we've learned how to harness it.
All right, that's a big.
All right.
Thank you.
Y'all good?
Yes, thank you so much for meeting with
No,
us.
not a problem. Thank you all so much. Thank you for your honest questions. For those of you who are of age, I anticipate hearing that all of y'all voted, either y'all voted early or y'all voting tomorrow. The same way that y'all did y'all research on me, I'm asking please research everyone else. This is being hosted by the Committee of 70, so I'm not going to go into my partisan speech, but what I will say is please research particularly the retention judges and what they've done and whether or not that aligns with what's important to you. Because we do have 3 Supreme Court justices that are currently up for retention. Pennsylvania Supreme Court has 7 justices, and so 3 of them are up for retention. If they are not retained, we will now have it down to 4. The makeup will be 2 and 2. These judges will not be replaced for 2 years. So we will have just 4 judges making decisions at the Supreme Court level until elections of 2025. Mr. Valier, did I keep that nonpartisan enough for you?
You did. That was great. Hey, it's my job to be nonpartisan, but you're a candidate.
Okay,
You
then
can
cover
go.
your ears real quick. Cover your ears real quick. All right, y'all. Kevin Doherty is a Philadelphian, and he is running for retention. You've got Justice Donahue and Justice Weck who are also running. I want you to understand that this Supreme Court in the past 10 years they're the ones who told the legislators that they have to properly fund the public school, and that where a child goes to school, their zip code should not impact their level of education. That's one case. The second case in Washington County, commissioners were not giving people the right to fix and cure their ballots. And what that means is these people were voting early. There was a problem. They didn't let it get fixed. Philadelphia, we would never do that. But they were in Washington County. That case went up. And Kevin Doherty, writing for the majority, said, you have to give them the opportunity to fix it. You have to give them the opportunity for that vote to be counted, because those votes were not being counted. And then lastly, how many of us know who Jasmine Crockett is? Y'all don't know who Jasmine is?
What is Jasmine Crockett?
No. A little bit
All
about
right,
it.
we're gonna fix that.
Yes, please, because Jasmine Crockett, yeah, so Jasmine Crockett come January doesn't have a job, y'all. The courts in Texas allowed the map to be redistricted, so she no longer has a district. And she has to figure out where she's going to do. That could happen in Pennsylvania. We actually had old maps that were just turned over in 2018, I believe it was. This is the Supreme Court that said that the maps, the way they are set up, need to be representative of the people. At that time, the maps were set up as 13 Republican and 5 Democrats in DC. We got 1.5 more million Democrats in Pennsylvania than we have Republicans. So how does that math? If we lose these 3 Democrats, our maps could go back. So those are the 3 that I want you to think about when you're thinking about whether or not you want to retain these judges. Lastly, ladies in the room, our right to choose is always up. We see what happened with the Dobbs opinion, where it now went back to the states. In Pennsylvania, we still have the right to choose our medical autonomy. I want people to understand right to choose is not just about an abortion. It is your right to treatment. And so what happened in Georgia, where that mom was septic and held on life support, could happen in Pennsylvania if our rules ever get challenged and changed. So that is your 4 quick spiels as to why I am asking people to retain, but I want you to do your research on your own, because those are issues that are important to me. One of the things I tell everybody is you need to vote as to the issues that are important to you, but understanding that it impacts everyone else. And so how do you not just protect your rights, but you protect others? We can't be about the selfishness here. Now, on that, Mr. Valera, I'm done.
Well, thank you very much, Jennifer, and thank you very much, Ms. Stefanovich, for
Yes.
having your students ask such great questions. We really appreciate your all's attention. Ms. Santiago, best of luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
And congratulations on reaching the finish line of the campaign.
Thank you so much.
So, thank you all, and make sure to vote if you haven't yet. Tomorrow polls are open 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. So.
And if you are in line by 7:59, they still have to let you vote, even if you are the last person in that line.
That's exactly right. Wonderful. Thank you very much. We hope you all
Bye,
have a great rest of your
everyone.
day.
Thank you.